Good day, folks. Bill Hubbard, Coldwell Banker. This is your real estate market review for Kamloops for May of 2025. The Kamloops market is basically flat. So if you took a 1 to 10, 1 is totally tanking, 10 is totally booming, and 5 is totally flat, I would say the Kamloops market is at about a 4. It's inching down a bit, but it's basically flat. Here's what I mean. If you look at May, there was 120 sales in May, residential sales in May of 2025. That's up from April. But remember that May is almost always up from April. If you look at last May, it's down from 146. And then the May before in 2023, it's down from 153. So that shows like a little bit of a downward pressure. However, you look at the absorption rates here, and remember, between 12 and 20% is a balanced market. And so we're sitting right, kind of right in the middle to the high two-thirds of that balanced market range at 17.52%. And it's been relatively consistent. It's up as high as 20% in October of 2024. Price is kind of the same thing. It's a fairly balanced market. Prices are flat. They're cruising along. You've got sort of the average price in May was $748. Average price in April was $726. You look back here, you got a couple of sixes, and then you got $722 in April last year, $712 in May of last year. So prices are basically flat, and I think you're probably going to see that as we go forward in 2025. The Kamloops market is going to remain flat until it starts to recover. The basics of that recovery are sooner or later, the pent-up demand is going to have to come off the table. In other words, sooner or later, things are going to stabilize, and sooner or later, buyers are going to come back to that, back to the market and start purchasing houses again, and you will start to see prices rise again. That's your real estate market review for the Kamloops area for May of 2025.